So we are officially underway. Today, we really want to just have a great conversation. We're going to talk about brands. We really are going to kick this off with just some conversation to lead us in. So the first thing, we wanted to think of something really fun, really light to just start the conversation. So Celeste, what's your favorite style of music?
Oh, that's interesting because I like almost everything. But I will say that R&B and hip hop are where my love lies and where what you'll find on the radio most times.
I love that. Now, is that when you're at the house, in the car, like everything?
Yes, everything in the house. I like music in the house. It sort of brings the energy up. My husband likes to watch TV, so it gives me an excuse to shut the TV and turn on the music. But I will say my son has gotten me into enjoy country music, which I
Oh,
hear is the hot happening
Yeah,
thing.
I mean,
Miss Cowboy Carter and Beyonce
Yeah.
and
Miss Carter.
jumping on it.
I grew up with a rock mindset, rock background, and just in the last 3 years, I've really started to dab in the country scene a little bit. And my dad taught me a long time ago to appreciate lyrics and the stories that are told in the songs, and you see that so much in country music. Yeah,
You sent me a nice country song this morning.
I did.
Big country fan myself. I mean, honestly, when people say they listen to every type of music, I feel like people don't mean it, but I listen to every type of music. You
That's
can
true.
find anything on in my car, including musicals, including crazy 1950s music. I mean, literally everything. Jersey Boys, I love it all. But
And you build,
EDM,
you
rap,
build playlists
country,
for all sorts of different
I do.
occasions.
Yes. If I would tell you that my dream job one day at Club Colors, I will be the resident DJ here. All I'm going to do is I play the music. Everyone comes in. I'm mixing for everyone at the parties, on the sales floor. But that'd be my dream job if I can do it. That'd be awesome.
I could see that. Adam also has a 14-hour playlist.
I do.
Wow.
There's a couple of them. Yes. A
Phase
couple
two.
happy ones, a couple sad ones, EDM, some country, all of it.
Tons of. So I grew up on bluegrass, coming from the Appalachian Mountains. So obviously country I have an affinity for, but the same thing. I love really all genres, classical, but I could never get into jazz. Like my
Oh, I
brain,
love jazz.
I like the soulful singing, but I don't like the jazz, just the instruments and the music. So
Yeah. I grew up in New Jersey, and so New York was just a hop skip. And so we spent a lot of time
Yeah.
doing things, Broadway shows, all kinds of things. And my mother was absolutely focused on making sure we grew up with culture. And so she forced us, myself and my cousins, I'm an only child, but my cousins, to go to, I think it was called Little Concerts for Little People. And it was classical music every Saturday morning, and we had to sit through it, and it was painful. And she would say, but one day you're going to appreciate this. And
Yep.
it's true, just having that mindset of appreciating other things, even though as a child you're not thinking it's cool at all. And you're thinking, oh my God, if my friends knew I was here.
Yeah.
But I think it gave me an appreciation for being receptive to other things.
I
Yeah.
agree. Like different music, it just exposes you to different people, different cultures, and things like that. So anytime I hear a rhythm or something that's different or unique, that's what catches me. Like I love the hook, and obviously Beyonce has just opened up an entire group of people to a music that they might not have ever came across or listened to. So for me, that's what's exciting. Like a group and groups of people, especially youth, are getting to hear Dolly again. They're hearing
Right.
Jolene in a different version.
Right.
So I also think that music can be that continuation. So
Yeah, to what Celeste was saying, what really funny happened to me was I love my parents' music, right? A lot of rock, a lot of old school, even Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, love it all. But the one that never stuck with me, my dad loved it, was Elvis. And like that, when he put it on, I was like, ugh, I just like dreaded it. But I recently, like a couple months ago, I recently watched the Elvis movie.
Yeah.
Fell in love with the movie and all the music. And now I have an Elvis playlist. And for about 2 weeks straight, I mean, I was driving my wife nuts, but all I was listening to was Elvis, Elvis, Elvis. It was unbelievable. So add that one to my genre. I love them. It's fantastic.
I love that. And see how our tastes change and we evolve. That's the best. Well, guys, today joining us is Celeste Risimini-Johnson. She is the Chief Merchandise and Operations Officer at Barnes & Noble College. So Celeste, I think one of the things that we would love to just really start with is inspirations. and motivations. So, would you want to share more about what inspired you to pursue a career in retail and merchandising? And, what continues to motivate you in your role today?
Sure. Early on, I had this affinity and love for fashion and style and dressing up. But in high school, I worked at our town department store. You call it a small department store in town. And I was very, very lucky early on to have a mentor there who allowed me in high school at 15, 16 to actually have an open to buy and to
Wow.
go to the market in New York City with her and see what really happens in the trenches of working with vendors and purchasing and really that commitment to the customer, because she was very good at understanding the customer. And so that I definitely had the bite early. Once I was, oh, you could actually buy things with other people's money and and enjoy that.
Legally.
Yes, exactly. And sell to the customer. I was on the floor selling and I was interacting. And so I definitely had that bug early. I actually went to Johnson and Wales College, which was a university where you need to know what you want to do up front. You don't do your core classes first. You do your actual major first.
That's interesting.
So so I applied to one school and one school only because I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and they were
Cool.
best for fashion merchandising and marketing. My 4 years in marketing and I have a 2-year in merchandising as well. But my mother was so nervous about me only applying to one college. I kept saying, but that's what I want to do. Why would I do something else? So I was really sort of focused on it early on. Luckily, it all worked out. I liked it. But yeah, it was early, and it was the mentors that I had along the way that kept me going. I am a Libra, so I think the fact that the balance of creativity and fashion balanced with operations and business acumen and the financial piece of it, I enjoy both a lot. And so that role in merchandising is one of the few roles that gives you that balance. And so that's always been something that drove me. And when you jump into market week and get excited about product, and then you come out and you're like, okay, but the business strategy has to be this. And so going back and forth and toggling between the two definitely keeps me going and motivated.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. But when you talk about those things that are natural to you, from the merchandising aspect to the creativity and finding a career path that bridges and marries those things together, that makes it such a more rewarding experience and something that you can spend your career in and you can spend your time in, and it makes it an easier conversation for you on the daily. I know from myself, that's what I go through here at Club Colors. I'm able to bridge some of those things that are natural to me and give me some just natural passion. And just makes it an easier conversation to have with clients, with what you're doing, with how you navigate your days. I love that. Tapping into those things that are natural to you and finding a career that you can build off of those.
Yes. And I think, Myra, when you talk about motivation, the thing that has always been a driver for me is, what is our mission? If there's something specific that we're thinking about as we make our decisions. In my role today, it's about supporting the academic success of students.
Yeah.
And so every decision we make, every product we purchase, every strategy we put in place is it going to support the student, whether it be academically, socially, just drive their success. Even back to my days at Children's Place early on, it was making sure that every child, baby looked their best in affordable clothes. And it was always back to, what's the mission? What's the purpose? How do we keep focused on that? And that continues to drive me and I find that drives my teams. It gives them a reason to keep doing what we do and be excited about it and have a purpose behind what we do every day. Because at the end of the day, we don't just sit here and sell clothes. We have a purpose. We make sure that our students have what they need. We make sure that parents feel pride and excitement they're where their children are in school. So that keeps us motivated. We just go back every time we're having a bad day or a bad week or a bad quarter. Like, okay, what's our mission? What do we need to give them now?
And that mission, I would imagine, changes from campus to campus. And you've got this family of brands that you're helping navigate and helping each individual missions.
Absolutely. We have 700 plus campuses, and each and every single one of them has a different priority and a different purpose.
Well, it's the uniqueness of each of the campuses. And then there's so many layers of that because you have to think about the climate, the geography. And then when you're looking at the campus, like, Where are our students coming from? Is this an urban campus? Is this a
That's
rural
right.
campus?
Yep.
So when you're looking at those brands, how do each of those brands play into those things? I do think you said something really interesting, though. Like, even it doesn't matter who you're buying for, it's that purpose and mission. So when you think of children and how they grow, and are you inspiring them? Like, is it colorful? Does it make their imagination flow? Is it dinosaurs? And I think a lot of that plays also into us as we mature. Like, we still look for those patterns, we look for those things that inspire us or excite us. So, as you think about the market and the growth of those individuals that's attending, what do you think about the patterns or the styles that's coming now or maybe coming this season?
It's all about the energy and the emotion that it drives in you. And some people respond to intense pattern, and some people respond to color, and some people respond to neutrals. And so you have to be the editor for them. You can't be everything for everyone, but you have to be able to answer that. And especially in the stores that we support, because we have such complex consumers, right? We have students, we have fans, we have alumni, we have faculty. And each one of them requires a different mindset in terms of assortment and what they're looking for. So we have to really be smart and edited, and not over assorted. That's super important. Even though you have to have an answer for all of those constituents and those consumers, you can't just sort of throw everything on the board and see what sticks. It doesn't work. So we're very careful about editing for the consumer.
I know that this is coming out of left field, but obviously, I follow merchandise and I love the things. You guys have brought a couple of really neat things. Clover Lane.
Stony Clover Lane.
Yes, which I'm a fan, huge fan. But then you also just had the Cactus Jack.
That's right.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Those things are really exciting.
Super exciting. So, a while ago, we partnered with the Lids and Fanatics teams, and they've really been great at bringing on new launches, creating excitement, new vendors. And it's things that students want. It's some of it is high tickets, so it can't live on the floor forever. It's not going to, be the core of the business, but it is absolutely critical to driving excitement and driving traffic. And it's, launch something, pull it out, bring something else in, continue that engagement. And I think that's really important. We found that coming out of COVID, students are looking for experience. They're looking for engagement. They're looking for in-person, what's hot, what's happening. Travis Scott showed up at LSU last week, and it created some crazy excitement. And it was students, and he really engaged with the students. We had someone who stood in line for a very long time, from I think noon the day before to the time that he arrived. And so it was incredible to see. Our store team made sure that Travis knew that he was there for a long time, and he was just over the moon that Travis spent time with him and thanked him, and just engaged with him, and thank you for staying here for that long, 12 hours waiting for me to arrive. And he brought his DJ, and there was music, and there was snacks, and there was all kinds of activity. But the excitement on campus, and our store teams still are talking about it. We have a team's, chat going, and they're still reeling from the excitement of having students be that excited about something that was happening in the bookstore, and bring that level of engagement to campus.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was gonna share a story about our a time in Vegas. We were out there for work. I'm not a fashionista. I don't know, Chris Jager, if you are. Mara, you kind of are. You know what you're doing around those designer brands.
I would defer to Brett on our team.
Well, exactly. I was going to say, shout out Brett. We have a brand advisor here who has all the latest, greatest of every designer brand that you can think of. My designer knowledge goes as far as The Devil Wears Prada, which is one of my favorite movies. But in Vegas, we were out there, and Brett wanted to go and go into some of these stores, and the three of us were there. I've never been in any of those stores. Chris has never been in any of those stores. So it was just pretty cool experience looking at all these wonderful brands and clothing items. But just wanted to see your thoughts on, are you a designer brand person? Are you someone that goes in those stores and takes a look at those purses and everything else that they have to offer?
Absolutely. My gosh. I love it. I love shopping. I have one child who loves to shop and one child who thinks we're crazy for shopping the way we do. So it's very interesting how the DNA decides what. But I always say to my husband, "You're lucky I'm not a size 2 because I would buy everything in sight." And so I stick a lot to shoes and purses, and jewelry is
Cool.
one of my weak spots. But back to Clover Lane, Myra, for a second. It's super important that we support the things that are happening from our students. And the interesting story about Stony Clover Lane is that it started from two students at Tulane. And so,
That's amazing.
they, started this incredible business, great, have this following, super successful. And so we made sure to launch it first at Tulane to support them, and it keeps growing. We've added it to other stores, but just to see the students, the entrepreneurship that's happening out there, and the things that students are doing these days to start new businesses and really be successful is amazing. And so we want to continue to support that and find those little nuggets to bring to the campuses.
Yeah, I think the power that collaborations have right now in the marketplace, especially with that Gen Z buyer, it's unmatched. And you're seeing it with the Cactus Jack launch, and you're seeing it with all these collaborations you're bringing to the marketplace and the experiences that you're creating on campus. I mean, that's exactly what you did through that launch is you created a memorable experience that those students will have with them for the rest of their journey at whatever university that they're at. So that's amazing how you can use merchandise to create that experience and make a memory at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But that's always been what your stores are about, especially in the college market. Creating experiences and events. And the events may not be driven by product. They could be driven, I love what you said, your purpose is your student and your student's success. And we see that. We see those events that you guys are hosting, if it's for a study break during exams or introducing the family when it's a new student coming in. How do you guys, you've mentioned 700 stores. How are you guys coordinating having these amazing events? And again, not necessarily tied to a product launch, but just engaging and making your students and their families feel welcome.
We don't have a very large group of resources, but somehow we manage it because we know we have to make it happen. We're doing some really fun, innovative things, like we're pushing our vendors hard on having these events and being part of on-campus in-person events. So one new venture we're going after is a partnership with Clinique, and we're going to bring them into a couple of grad fairs, and they're going to do makeovers, and they're going to do shots for headshots for LinkedIn, and for
Cool.
and having that available to students is so key, because they're not thinking about, I need a headshot, I'm going to go into the world and interview. And so we're trying to find all these ways to bring that engagement and to bring that level of how do we help you succeed past your freshman year, past your sophomore year. You're making sure that we connect with them at the right moments throughout their journey at school and then beyond as alumni is super important. So we just keep pushing using resources outside of our team if we don't have the ability to do it, using the vendors, using our partnerships, whatever we can do to bring those resources in from the outside is, we're very focused on that.
I love that. And you're going back to creating experiences. So that student going to the grad fair, getting that professional headshot, it's something that's going to make a difference for them as they navigate, their employment journey. In today's world, everyone's got LinkedIn. Everyone has all these profiles, giving them something that is better than a shot from a wedding, that they're in a nice suit or they're in a nice dress or something. So I think that's great. That's a great way to empower the student.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that I learned very early on in my career, it was actually the CEO of the Children's Place who taught me a lot about what I know today. I might not have known that I was absorbing it back then, but making sure that the vendors and the partners that we work with, that it's a win-win, right? It's a win for them. It's a win for us. We support each other. We find ways to support our consumer, but Clinique, certainly having the visibility to all of the students on campus, that's big brand exposure for them. And then us, being able to support the students. So making sure that it's a win-win on both sides is key.
Now, as you reflect back on that and your journey, you've worked with some major brands from what Babies R Us, Children's Place, Land's End. What are some of those experiences outside of that have shaped your journey thus far? Are those milestones that come to mind?
Yeah, I think number one is the agility and the flexibility to be able to understand the consumer, right? I had a children's business for 20 years. Then I went into women's. I had home at one time. Now I'm in college. But being able to just zero in on who the consumer is and make sure that that's what it's about.
Yep.
Is, I think, the thing that has allowed me to be successful is the flexibility and guiding the team to really focus on, it's not what you, Chris, want. It's not what you think is cool. Is that right for our customer? And how do you know, right? It's the sales, the data, the reports, the feedback we get locally. All of that plays into what we assort and what we edit for our campus stores, but it's driven by facts and it's driven by data. It's not driven by what Chris wants, right? As
Absolutely.
the buyer. It's important to be able to edit that.
I mean, I think back on my own journey. Before I was at Club Colors, I worked for the Home Depot. Was in a couple of department supervisor roles, and that same battle where you had maybe a supervisor that wanted to do something for merchandising, but that wasn't the direction from the corporate headquarters. You have that balancing act, and you have to have that trust with the people that see everything from a merchandising 30,000 foot view, and being able to always have that checkpoint though for yourself at the customer level. And one of their core values was find a way to yes, and that was something that I've carried with me to this day. That at the end of the day, you have to find a way to answer your customer, your client's questions, and provide a solution that addresses why they're talking to you to begin with. So I think there's always little nuggets you can carry from whatever role you've been in, especially in retail. There's so many lessons you learn in the trenches that carry over whatever role you're in.
That's right.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, it's figuring out your client or your customer's why, right? I think that the two themes right now, and I think that's why we have such a great partnership with you guys, is one of our lines is creating inspiring brand experiences, right? So it's about that experience when you're working with Club Colors, when we're working with your events, on your logo giveaways, all the things that you're doing on campus. And then the other thing is figuring out our clients' why. Like you said earlier, right? We know they're not just buying t-shirts to use up a budget, right? They have goals of getting alumni to donate back to the program. They have goals of get students to the football game or whatever that event might be. But it's really understanding your client, your customers, and making sure you're doing right by them.
Absolutely. What it's all about.
Yeah. So let's switching gears here over to leadership and mentorship, right? So, I mean, as a leader in the industry, I mean, talk a little bit about that, about just the way that you've come up, maybe some mentors that you've had that have taught you and showed you the way, and how do you pass that along to your team?
I have been so lucky to have a few really key people in my career who have shaped everything that I want to do and don't want to do, right? I've had a couple of leaders that I won't mention that I would think, I don't want to do that. But the ones that were really, pivotal in my career were in my early days back at the Children's Place, few at Land's End, who just, again, consumer-centric, leaders who really understood how to lead people. And early on in my career, I had a pivotal moment, a humbling moment where I was, climbing the ladder. I was the rock star. I was pushing. I had a very strong work ethic. I would work constantly. I would push my team. And one day the CEO of the Children's Place pulled me in and said, Celeste, you are a rock star, but not everybody has the same standards that you have, and you have to take it down a notch. And I thought, take it down a notch? Why would we take it down? Everybody can't keep up with what you're pushing. And it was a great conversation. At the moment, it didn't feel great, but I walked out and thought, I need to really pay attention to that. And it was the pivotal moment when I realized that each and every person has to be ticked in a different way. Each and every person on your team reacts differently and is motivated differently. And not everyone can keep up, and not everyone wants to work like you do. And not everyone wants that abrupt, let's get it done, let's do it. everybody has a different way of being motivated and being excited. And so at that moment, and of course I was in my 20s, so I didn't have the experience. I didn't have a large team at that point. It was a smaller team, but it was cross-functional. We always, the merchant is always leading everyone in some way. But it was humbling, but I think everybody needs that pivotal moment where somebody sits you down and says, "Hey, check yourself," right? Stop and change whatever it is, your attitude, your thought process, whatever. And I think that's when I became a leader that people want to follow, because at that moment I knew how to change my way to make you, Myra, tick, and make you, Chris, excited, and make you, Adam, everybody. And I think now that's one of the skills I do best, which early in my career was definitely not what I was good at, right? Now I have a team of people. They're very diverse. They all have different skill sets, but I motivate each and every one of them differently. And it's something I'm conscious of all the time. And it drove what I'll call, authentic leadership, which I know is an overused term these days. But that pivotal moment in my 20s was when I realized it was super important.
Yeah, it's a great story. And I mean, it keeps you on your toes. I think that's why we all love being in leadership, right? You're right. Everyone has different skills. Everyone has different motivators. Everyone likes to be congratulated differently, right? Not everyone likes to be, hey, everyone gather around. Like, not everyone likes that. Some people just like an email, a pat on the back, say, hey, great job, keep it going.
And it's your job as a leader to know which one. And I think that moment gave me that humbling, like, hey,